The Leopard 1A5 was never supposed to survive this. It was designed in the 1950s, entered production in 1965, and was built around a philosophy that deliberately sacrificed armor for speed. 70 millimeters of steel on the upper front hull, 35 on the sides, 25 on the rear. These are numbers that would not stop a modern autocannon, let alone an anti-tank guided missile. The Leopard 1 was, by design, one of the most thinly armored main battle tanks of its generation. West Germany's engineers looked at the shaped-charge warheads of the Cold War era and concluded that no practical thickness of steel would stop them, so they stopped trying. They built a fast, light, accurate tank, and accepted that if something serious hit it, the armor would not save the crew. That was the theory in 1965. In February 2026, a Leopard 1A5, belonging to the 1st Tank Battalion of Ukraine's 5th Separate Heavy Mechanized Brigade, sat in a concealed position on the front line and took 52 direct hits from Russian FPV drones and Molniya-type UAVs over the course of nearly an entire day. Not one penetrated the hull. The crew survived. The tank started. It drove itself out of the position under its own power. It was repaired and returned to service. 52 hits on a tank with 35mm side armor, and nothing got through. This is not a story about a miracle. It is a story about what happens when soldiers who understand the threat better than any defense ministry on Earth take a 60-year-old machine and rebuild it for a war that its designers could never have imagined. Start with what the crew of this Leopard 1A5 actually did to the tank before the first drone arrived, because the modifications are the story. The tank was fitted with Nij explosive reactive armor on the upper front hull. Nij is a Ukrainian-developed ERA system, designed to defeat shaped-charge warheads by detonating outward when struck, disrupting the penetration jet before it reaches the base armor. On a tank with 70mm of frontal steel, ERA is not a supplement to existing protection. It is the protection. Without it, a single FPV drone carrying a standard shaped-charge warhead would likely penetrate the Leopard 1's hull on the first hit. Contact 1 explosive reactive armor, an older Soviet-designed system, widely available in Ukrainian stockpiles, was mounted on the sides, the lower front hull, and across much of the turret. The blocks covered the turret's frontal area and most of its sides, turning a casting that originally offered 60 to 70mm of steel into a surface that could defeat at least the first shaped-charge warhead to strike each panel. ERA tiles are sacrificial. They fire once and are destroyed. But against 52 hits spread across the vehicle, the layered coverage meant that many areas could absorb multiple strikes before the base armor was exposed. On top of the turret, a cope cage was installed, a metal frame designed to intercept munitions dropped from above or diving onto the roof, where armor is thinnest on any tank. The cage detonates a shaped-charge warhead at a standoff distance from the actual turret roof, reducing or eliminating penetration. And then came the detail that may be the most ingenious of all: anti-drone spikes. The crew fitted what they call hedgehog protrusions, metal spikes extending from the cage and hull surfaces, designed to shear the rotors and blades of incoming FPV quadcopters on contact, physically destroying the drone's airframe before its warhead can detonate properly against the hull. The idea is brutally simple. If you can break the drone before it achieves the correct standoff distance for its shaped charge, the warhead either fails to detonate or detonates ineffectively. Side netting was draped around the vehicle to catch incoming drones in a mesh that tangles their propellers. Grills and chains were added over the engine compartment, the most vulnerable section of any tank from above, because the engine deck is typically thinner than any other surface, and a mobility kill from a drone strike there leaves the crew stranded. The company commander, callsign Spartan, noted specifically that without the additional protection, hits on the engine and transmission compartment would have caused a mobility kill. The added layers prevented that. The result is a vehicle that looks nothing like the elegant, low-profile Leopard 1 that rolled off Krauss-Maffei's production line in the 1960s. It looks, frankly, like an armored hedgehog, bristling with spikes, draped in nets, bolted with reactive tiles, capped with a cage, and hidden under camouflage netting in a covered revetment. It is not beautiful. It is not aerodynamic. It is not what any tank designer would draw on a clean sheet of paper. But it is alive, and the crew inside it is alive. And in a war where Russian drones are destroying armored vehicles at an industrial rate, alive is the only metric that matters. It is worth understanding what the Molniya drones in that 52-hit tally actually are. because they represent a different category of threat from standard FPV quadcopters. The Molniya is a Russian loitering munition, faster, heavier, and carrying a larger warhead than a typical FPV drone. It is designed specifically to strike armored vehicles in hardened positions with a shaped charge or fragmentation warhead delivered at speed, making it harder to intercept physically and more lethal on impact. The fact that the Leopard 1A5's layered protection defeated not only dozens of standard FPV strikes, but also Molniya-type munitions, suggests that the combination of ERA, cage, spikes, and netting is effective against a broader spectrum of drone threats than a single defensive measure alone could address. No one layer stopped everything. The system of layers stopped everything. There is another dimension to the Leopard 1A5 that explains why the 5th Brigade crews value it so highly, despite its age. And it has nothing to do with armor or firepower. It is maintenance. Spartan described the German engineering philosophy in practical terms. Everything in the tank is quick release. There is no need to spend hours unbolting components. The crew lifts the engine compartment cover, removes the bolts, hooks the engine to a crane from a recovery vehicle, pulls it out, and drops in a replacement. Then they fill the fluids, start it up, and drive. The entire process takes only a few hours. Soviet-designed tanks, by contrast, typically need to be loaded onto heavy transport vehicles and sent to armored repair facilities far behind the lines. In a war where vehicles are damaged daily and repair speed determines whether a unit maintains its combat strength, the Leopard 1's modular German engineering is a strategic advantage that no specification sheet adequately captures. The tank that survived 52 hits was repaired and returned to service. If it had been a Soviet-era tank requiring factory-level repair, it might still be sitting on a flatbed somewhere in western Ukraine. Now step back and look at what this incident reveals about how armored warfare has actually changed, because the implications extend far beyond one tank in one position. The Leopard 1A5 that survived 52 hits was not fighting in the way tanks have traditionally fought. It was not maneuvering across open ground, engaging enemy armor at range, or leading an infantry assault. It was sitting in a prepared, concealed position, hidden under camouflage nets in a revetment, with side netting deployed to catch drones. The crew was sheltering nearby, not inside the vehicle. When the attack subsided, they returned to the tank, started the engine, and withdrew. This is not the kind of tank warfare taught at Sandhurst or West Point. This is positional survivability, the art of placing a heavy weapon system in a location where it can deliver fire while absorbing punishment, then extracting it before the cumulative damage becomes fatal. The 5th Heavy Mechanized Brigade has adapted its entire Leopard 1A5 fleet to this reality. Some tanks operate from covered positions as de facto self-propelled artillery, providing fire support to infantry at distances of up to 12 kilometers using indirect fire. The Leopard 1A5's fire control system, derived from the Leopard 2, gives it accuracy at range that far exceeds what the original 1960s design intended. The 105mm rifled gun fires high-explosive fragmentation, armor-piercing, and heat rounds, with a human loader chambering around in 3 to 4 seconds, faster than many autoloaders. Other tanks in the battalion are kept in prepared positions to counter potential Russian armored breakthroughs, engaging targets with precision from concealment rather than in the open. In one reported engagement, a Leopard 1A5 from the unit destroyed a boat carrying 3 Russian soldiers attempting a river crossing in Donetsk region. The tank is being used as a precision fire platform, not a charging cavalry weapon. And crucially, the unit's officers emphasized that the Leopard 1A5's reverse speed of 26 km per hour, far superior to Soviet-designed tanks, gives it the ability to withdraw rapidly after firing, a capability that has become essential in an environment where any vehicle detected in the open is targeted by drones within minutes. The broader lesson here is one that should concern every army in the world that operates armored vehicles. The drone threat has not made tanks obsolete. It has made exposed tanks obsolete. A tank that sits in the open, moves without concealment, or operates without layered protection against overhead attack will be destroyed. But a tank that is hidden, fortified, protected with ERA, cages, spikes, and netting, and operated from prepared positions, retains its value as a protected, mobile, heavy firepower platform that infantry cannot replicate. The question is not whether tanks survive. It is whether crews and armies are willing to adapt fast enough to keep them survivable. The Ukrainian adaptation model is worth examining closely because it operates at a speed that peacetime defense industries cannot match. The modifications on this Leopard 1A5 were not designed in a laboratory, tested over years, and delivered through a formal procurement process. They were conceived by frontline crews, fabricated from available materials, tested under fire, and iterated in days or weeks. Spartan, the company commander who reported the 52-hit incident, noted that the technical innovations and tactics developed by Ukrainian tankers have amazed European defense engineers. Representatives from Rheinmetall were reportedly impressed by the effectiveness of using the Leopard 1A5 from closed indirect fire positions, a role the tank was never designed for but has been adapted to perform under battlefield pressure. The unit is already anticipating the next evolution. They are awaiting tests in Ukraine of a new Belgian Cockerill 3105 turret for the Leopard 1, which would extend the indirect fire range from 12 to 18 kilometers. If that turret proves viable, the Leopard 1, a tank from the 1960s, would be operating as a precision fire support platform at ranges that overlap with dedicated self-propelled artillery systems. The machine would have been reinvented so completely by the demands of the battlefield that its original classification as a main battle tank would be almost incidental. This has implications that extend beyond Ukraine. Hundreds of Leopard 1s remain in storage depots across Europe, decommissioned, mothballed, considered obsolete. Germany alone retired its entire Leopard 1 fleet decades ago. Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, Italy, and other former operators have stocks of varying condition. The conventional wisdom was that these vehicles had no role in modern warfare. The 52-hit incident and the broader adaptation of the Leopard 1A5 fleet by the 5th Brigade challenges that assumption directly. If a 60-year-old tank can be made survivable against the defining threat of the modern battlefield through field-level modifications costing a fraction of a new armored vehicle, then every mothballed tank in a European warehouse is not scrap metal. It is a potential combat asset waiting for the right modifications and the right crew. The economics are stark. A new Leopard 2A8 cost approximately 20 million euros. A refurbished Leopard 1A5 with ERA, cage armor, drone defenses, and a fire control upgrade cost a fraction of that. And in indirect fire or positional defense roles, it can deliver comparable tactical value. Quantity has a quality of its own, and Europe has quantity sitting in storage. There is a contrast buried in this story that deserves attention. The company commander noted that despite all the added protection, the Leopard 1A5 retained its functionality as a combat vehicle. Turret rotation, optics, gun operation, all remained intact. He then made an observation about the Russian approach. During their own upgrades, Russian forces often turn their equipment into moving barns, stripping vehicles of the ability to function as combat units. The distinction is critical. Ukrainian modifications add survivability without destroying capability. Russian modifications, the infamous cope cages welded onto T-72s and T-90s, often crudely fabricated and poorly integrated, frequently obstruct commander vision, block turret rotation, and add weight without meaningful protection. One approach adapts intelligently, the other panics structurally. The 52-hit Leopard is evidence of the former. There is also the human dimension, which is the part of this story that no specification sheet captures. Spartan described the attack. The enemy spotted the tank in position and fired continuously. One FPV hit while another corrected the fire. Then a third would strike, and this cycle continued for almost a full day. The crew was sheltering nearby, listening to drone after drone slamming into their vehicle, not knowing whether the next hit would be the one that penetrated. When the firing subsided, they climbed back in, started the engine, and drove out. That requires a specific kind of courage, the kind that trusts improvised protection bolted onto a 60-year-old hull by fellow soldiers in a workshop near the front line. The kind that starts an engine after 52 explosions and bets everything on the modifications holding for one more drive. The tank community, the real one, the crews who live inside these machines, has a saying: you only need to survive one more hit than the enemy can deliver. This Leopard 1A5 survived 52 more. What does this mean for the future of armored warfare? It means that the debate about whether tanks are obsolete has been asking the wrong question. Tanks are not obsolete. Unprotected tanks are obsolete. Tanks that operate alone are obsolete. Tanks that move without concealment are obsolete. But a tank that is hidden, hardened, adapted, crewed by people who understand the threat environment, and integrated into a combined arms system that includes drones, electronic warfare, and infantry, remains one of the most effective weapons on the battlefield. Not because it is invulnerable, nothing is, but because it concentrates firepower, protection, and mobility in a package that no other platform can replace. The Leopard 1A5 was built in an era when the main threat was a Soviet T-62, firing an armor-piercing sabot round across the Fulda Gap. It was never designed to fight drones. It was never designed to operate as indirect fire artillery. It was never designed to carry reactive armor or cope cages or hedgehog spikes. And yet, in February 2026, it did all of those things, and it survived 52 attempts to destroy it. A tank designed in the 1950s, modified in a workshop near the front line, protected by Ukrainian-made ERA and Soviet-era reactive tiles, hidden under camouflage netting, defended by metal spikes and chains, hit 52 times by the defining weapon of modern warfare, and it drove home. That is not the end of the tank. That is the tank being reborn, uglier, stranger, and more dangerous than the clean sheet version ever imagined. The era of the parade ground tank is over. The era of the survivable tank, the tank that hides, adapts, absorbs, and endures, has begun. And it started with a 60-year-old German machine in a Ukrainian tree line, covered in spikes, taking hits all day, and refusing to die.